Well, Notre Dame fans, we've reached the point in the Fighting Irish season where the Irish are dealing with some significant and serious injuries. Marcus Freeman, in his Monday press conference ahead of the USC game at the end of this week, said that Ashton Craig, Jack, will be out for the remainder of the Notre Dame season. And that, like I said, is significant news because for my money, and I think for yours as well, Craig has been one of the best Notre Dame offensive linemen, if not the very best, for a group that keeps on getting better and better up front. So, like I said, a tough opponent for the Irish coming in this week in the Trojans, and Notre Dame will be without Craig, who's just a vital piece of this offensive line. So where do the Irish go from here?
Yeah, Craig had been playing some fantastic football for Notre Dame, moving guys out of the hole in zone schemes, doing a great job on some of their duo concepts, kind of climbing to the second level. That's a huge loss for them. Joe Otting will take his place at center. They confirmed that on the official depth chart today. You asked about Otting today. Pretty stock answer. They have a lot of confidence in Otting, but I mean they're going to have to because it's next man up. We saw this a ton last season. This is the first, I believe, the first season-ending injury that we've seen from Notre Dame. So honestly, kind of a while into the season for the first one of those, especially compared to last year. Mm-hmm. But obviously, still sucks for Notre Dame. As far as injuries that will impact just this game, Jaden Greathouse, Cooper Flanagan, Devontae Smith, questionable with the hamstring, Achilles, and calf injuries, respectively, would be, I think, the biggest one of those, given the opponent is Smith. Because USC has a fantastic receiver, one of the most, the most productive in the Power Four in Mekhi Lemon, and he plays about 2/3 of his snaps in the slot.
And he made a heck of a catch against Michigan. Obviously, USC.
Heck of a catch a lot.
All the time. And you could tell in the way that Freeman was talking about him, both in his opening statement and then he was asked specifically about not just Lemon, but defending Lemon. And it's going to have to be an all-hands-on-deck effort. I think you see Leonard Moore, Notre Dame's All-American cornerback, probably line up in a place that he doesn't typically line up, which is the slot. And then I think, honestly, USC is probably going to put Lemon in some different areas too. So you might see some shadowing from Leonard Moore because that might be what it takes for Notre Dame to stymie Lemon, and he's being thrown the ball from Jaden Mayava, by the way, who is one of the most efficient, productive, all the great things that you can say about a quarterback, those monikers and adjectives, like he fits them, and he has been excellent in what is it, true sophomore season, or is he a redshirt sophomore?
Redshirt junior, I think, because he played last year, and then he I believe with a Mountain West freshman of the year or player of the year, one of those two at UNLV. But regarding Lemon, Freeman was asked specifically like whether they would consider putting Leonard Moore in the slot. I think it was our Eric Hansen who asked that, and he said that yeah, if they believe that's their best option, they'll do it. But at the same time, Freeman pulled out the phrase, you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. Very, very biblical day from Marcus Freeman today. The point of that phrase is like, Leonard Moore is super valuable at corner, taking away half the field, and obviously USC has some guys who can beat you who aren't named Mekhi Lemon, namely 6'4", really long arms wide receiver, Jacoby Lane. What makes Lemon so tough, man, is he's not the biggest guy,
no, he's not,
but he plays bigger than he is. He's not the fastest guy, but he plays faster than he is. He really fits the mold. If I was an NFL team, I would be all over this guy. He fits the mold of like the Amon-Ra St. Browns, the Jackson Smith and Jigbas are two guys that I've seen compared to him. The guys who are really dominating the NFL. Even Justin Jefferson to some extent, like the between 5'11" and 6'1", guys who can line up inside and outside and win in multiple ways with great body control, late hands. I mean, he is the prototype for what NFL teams have been successful with recently. Emeka Egbuka, another one out of Ohio State who fits that mold. But he's been fantastic this year. Super tough challenge for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think he's listed at 5'10", which means he's probably 5'8" or 5'9". But like you said, and I'll go back to the catch that I mentioned against Michigan.
He had two of those against Illinois as well.
He's surrounded by defenders, and it's that guy that comes away with the football. That's very impressive for his stature, like we were saying. Also, someone who has a very impressive stature, but Notre Dame is not going to see it this week, and maybe not at all season, it's sounding like. Charles Jagasaw, while we're on the injury front here, we got confirmation from Marcus Freeman today that Charles Jagasaw had a follow-up procedure, as Freeman called it, on the arm that he injured in a UTV accident over the 4th of July weekend. It's just been a tough situation for Jagasaw because this guy has still only started 3 games in a Notre Dame uniform. This was supposed to be the year that puts him on the map. He already kind of is in a way in terms of the next level stuff. Everyone thinks that he's an NFL type of talent. You haven't got to see it for prolonged stretches at Notre Dame because of all the injuries. This one is unfortunate, and as Freeman was saying today, it might hold him out for the foreseeable future for sure because he's in the rehab process. Freeman said you will see him at some point, but Jack, I'm starting to wonder when some point is for Charles Jagusah.
Yeah, it's impossible to say. And Freeman said today that like he doesn't know when he's going to be back. So it certainly doesn't sound like it's going to be anytime soon. Like when we saw Jagusah on the field on Saturday, he had a massive brace on that right arm, on that right arm. It just does not look like a player preparing to return anytime soon, and that's obviously tough in conjunction with Ashton Craig's injury. Yeah. So a lot of hits taken by the offensive line.
All things considered, the offensive line is still, like I was saying earlier, though, trending in the right direction. We'll see what Joe Otting provides. There's some whispers from our own Eric Hansen, who kept saying it after the press conference. Don't count out Sullivan Absher. If you're looking for a best five, if you're Joe Rudolph, and you eliminate Ashton Craig from that equation, Sullivan Absher was kind of viewed as that sixth guy, and we've seen him when someone does go down for a play or whatnot, come in at the guard or tackle positions. Is he a center? That is still to be answered. Joe Otting definitely is, and we're going to see what he has this weekend, and he has a chance to kind of solidify himself as the Notre Dame starting center for the rest of the season. So, Jack, let's talk about some more players who we will see in this football game. Marcus Freeman got the token CJ Carr question. I'm fascinated more than ever with Carr because we know what to expect. We've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, CJ Carr is going to play really good football for Notre Dame, but he's up against a quarterback this week in Jaden Mayaba, who we mentioned earlier, who might actually be able to outduel him and say, hey, I'm the best quarterback on the field. So what did Freeman say about Carr? What do you expect from Carr? And let's get into some of the other things with the Notre Dame offense, because that was a big topic today, was the short yardage stuff and whatnot. So first on Carr, then we'll talk short yardage.
He was kind of asked about how CJ Carr compares to Riley Leonard in terms of their competitiveness. He mentioned the burning desire to win. They hate to lose. Like, they're truly going to do whatever it takes on the football field to win. And that's a similar. Their games are not very similar, but if you ask Marcus Freeman about a player, the first thing he's going to mention is typically competitiveness. And that's something that both those guys who Notre Dame has trusted to lead their team the past 2 years very much have.
And you want that in this game. You want that competitiveness, because Marcus Freeman used the word bloody a couple times to describe what he thinks is going to happen between Notre Dame and USC. It was a lot of rivalry talk, and when you talk rivalries, competitiveness, like, you have to want to win this game. And the team, I don't want to say the team that wants it more is going to win. You got to play good football too. And we'll spin it that direction right now. Good football in terms of executing in short yardage situations on offense. Notre Dame has not done that the last couple of games, and it might come down to that against USC, because obviously the Trojans are capable of putting points on the board and putting you in pressure situations where you feel like you have to execute. So, Jack, what's the answer? I don't know if Marcus Freeman has an answer for what's going on with Notre Dame's offense short yardage, but he was asked a lot about it today. What's going on there? Can you give Irish fans any sort of hope that maybe this gets resolved as soon as this Saturday against USC?
Well, interestingly enough, Freeman actually confirmed two things that I wrote in my 5 More Thoughts article this morning. Number one, it's not the running backs. Yeah. He was asked whether you consider putting Jabron Payne and Aeneas Williams, and he obviously has confidence in those two in that situation, but he also has confidence in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. It's not the running backs. It is the inability to block well enough to gain a yard. He also confirmed that NC State had a better call on than Notre Dame for the 2 fourth downs. One was the sprint out to Will Pauling. They dropped their outside linebacker, no window to throw into. Second one, they were bracketing Malachi Fields. That was one, again, I think I said this on our Sunday show, probably should have burned a timeout when you see Fields go in motion and 2 guys go with him, because he was literally the only receiver running a route on that play. So the play calling, you finally want Marcus Freeman to call it the play calling. He kind of did with this one. But the bottom line is they have to block well enough to gain a yard. And obviously losing Ashton Craig, one of, if not their best interior blockers, one of the best centers in the country this year, I would say, obviously not going to help matters there.
Yeah, and what he did say, what kind of goes back to the defense, and we'll finish with the defense because we need to talk about those guys in this game. They're going to be huge factors in this game, whether or not they can stop USC. But getting back to the offense for one more thing, he was asked straight up, is it as simple as putting CJ Carr under center? Is CJ Carr comfortable under center because he played in a high school offense where I don't know if he took one. We're going to have to ask CJ Carr that. Did you ever take a snap under center at Saline High School outside of Ann Arbor? Maybe not. But Freeman kind of said, yeah, if we thought that was the solution, we probably would have done it by now. And it reminded me, Jack, of earlier in the season when Freeman was always asked about, hey, are these play calls correct on defense? Is the scheme correct? He said, it's not the calls, it's not the scheme. If it was the calls or the scheme, we would have changed that by now. Notre Dame just had to play better defensively, and it has. You asked about the defense. specifically comparing the Boise State game to the NC State game. You give up 7 points in each one. Freeman said that he thought Notre Dame was better against NC State defensively than the Irish were against Boise State. Why?
Yeah, he said the biggest thing was the way they responded to the one touchdown they gave up. Like, it was a big play. There was no panic. It was like, all right, we know what happened. We know how to fix it. And they did. And they created turnovers in the second half. They got what he called like defensive explosive plays. Like they put the offense in great field position twice. I think they gave it to him in the red zone twice with Adon Schuler, his interception, Kingston Viliamu-Asa, his interception, both of which, particularly the Viliamu-Asa one where he was trying to throw it away, came under pressure. So again, it's the marriage of rush and coverage that Freeman keeps talking about. I would agree with him that this was their best defensive performance against NC State.
Well, that's a very good thing for the Irish going into a game where they're probably going to see the best offense that they've faced all year.
And we should know that it's not just Lemon and Lane and Mayava. Their offensive line is playing very well. They actually they played King Miller, so redshirt freshman walk-on running back after their top two guys got hurt, and their number one, Wayman Jordan, the JUCO transfer. He's not going to play for, I believe, the next 4 to 6 weeks was the NACO's report. But it didn't really matter for USC because their offensive line was kicking butt on some of their counter concepts and their gap schemes like that. Freeman said, you don't rush for as many yards as they do without a great offensive line, and USC's offensive line is rolling. It's going to take an all 11-man effort from the Notre Dame defense this week.
Yeah, USC might not have a Notre Dame stable or fleet of running backs, but they recruit well enough and they get the guys to come in that if their offensive line is playing the way that you're saying, you could kind of plug anyone back there, especially with the passing game that they have, and feel comfortable and confident if you're a Trojan fan that you're going to be able to be fine in that area of the game. So all that said, I'm really excited about it. I think this is one of the marquee games on the Notre Dame schedule every single year, obviously. Big-time rivalry game. It's going to be right here in South Bend, and we will have you covered with that at blueandgold.com and Blue and Gold Illustrated.